So, thanks for playing the polling game with me. Let's go ahead and get the panel underway. And I think that we have, how many people are familiar with IDEA and the industry data warehouse? Just as a leverage set. Yeah, and we still have a few people in the room that don't have their hands in the air. So what I'd like to do is have you kick it off, Paul, and tell us what is IDEA and what's the value proposition for manufacturers and distributors individually and then collectively as an industry.
Sure. IDEA was jointly formed by a venture between NAED and NEMA back in 1998. And it was founded under this principle that we have to efficiently and effectively get the product data from the manufacturers to the distributors. Other systems had existed that were doing that, but they were not necessarily controlled by the industry. So if you take a look at one of our taglines, it's for the industry, by the industry. And that's the premise under which we were founded. And the real value proposition is this notion of one-to-many. So imagine if you're a manufacturer, you may have hundreds of distributors across the country that are carrying your product. Do you really want to configure individual data feeds to each of those companies in order to get your product data out there? And the odds are not. And then on the distributor side, you could have dozens of manufacturers in your line card, and again, do you want an individual data feed from all of those companies? So we fulfill that one-to-many kind of functionality. And in addition to that, we have data standards, so that at the point at which the manufacturer communicates their data to us, we compare it against the data standard to make sure, again, we have this compliance and the excellence in the data. And then when the distributor receives their data feed, all of the manufacturer's data looks relatively the same because it's based on this functional data standard that we have. So again, efficiently and effectively getting that product data from one entity to the other is what we do.
That's great. And I would say too, Paul, as I listen to what you're saying, the efficiencies really resonate because that helps us take cost out of the channel, right? Having one place to provide your data, one place to go get all of your data. Mm-hmm. But I also think it goes above and beyond that because I really think that once you put your data in the IDW, the true value of the data is when you put it in motion. So data that is downloaded by the distributor community and then consumed and leveraged within their systems is what really allows companies to drive sales. And I think that's whether that's in an e-commerce environment or whether you're looking at efficiencies for your standard order processing and so on. But enough for me, because I could talk about that all day. I want to hear from the panelists. But and as we listen to these reasons for participating in the industry data warehouse, I also think that there are concerns about participation. Some of those concerns from, hey, it's really time consuming, it's kind of hard to do, I don't know whether the distributors are using the data that I'm providing. Mike, do you want to share with us from your perspective, what would you say to some of the manufacturers?
Well, Denise, I would look at it very, very simply. So we're all about figuring out ways to make all of you, our channel partners, more effective. So how do we do that? And having the opportunity to have a central repository of information that we populate, fully populate all 43 fields, high quality, and achieve that excellence level we've been working towards, and Paul was just saying we're almost at that excellence level in our company. We achieved the platinum level in both quantity and quality. This is very, very important to us because if we can make you more effective, then we can spend more time with you on other value-added activities to expand the market. And having this central repository, I would say everybody, and I can say from my NEMA colleagues, it's a lot of commitment. And we didn't always have this commitment maybe a few years ago. And I think we saw the light thanks through all of you from the distribution side of the importance of this. And I think it's important as manufacturers that we continue to invest in this area. E-commerce is here to stay. You don't just do it once. You've got to continue the investment to make our channel partners more effective. I think that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Interesting point when you talk about it's here to stay, it's not going to go away. And I think we hear a lot of, commentary in the industry of, oh, once I've got my data in there, I'm done, I can move on now. I think we have to realize as an industry that the data requirements of today are very, very different and much broader than they were 10 years ago. And I think as the technology continues to evolve, those data requirements are only going to grow. And I think we need to stop thinking of data as a destination and look at it as a journey and a process. And I think that if we can do that, then you start to put in processes that allow you to sustain that and repeat that over a period of time, also gaining additional efficiencies for your company. So I appreciate that. And now I want to get the distributor perspective here. And I'm just going to ask, and let's start with John. Is data important to your organization?
But Denise, it's very important. I think that if you think of quality data that we trust, it really is kind of the fuel that drives our business systems and our business processes. And I'm sure, like all the organizations here, we're very focused on continuous improvement. And if you think of those areas, whether it's quotes to cash or our distribution center or marketing, there's virtually nothing we do relative to continuous improvement that doesn't require data, and data we trust and we can leverage. So. And I know there's a lot of talk around data these days relative to web commerce, and I know we'll talk a little bit about that, but it really starts with that foundation, that trusted data, and then obviously it's evolved into additional attributes we need to support our website too. So it's critically important to what we do.
That's great. And when you think about trusted data too, and as you're feeding the IDW and making sure that that data stays current and fresh, right? You guys are manufacturers are introducing new products. You're having replacements and substitutes come out. And I know we spent a lot of time on creating the marketing material and the print material and getting that out to the distributors. But I think electronically, we also owe it to the industry and our channel partners to get that data into the industry data warehouse as part of your new product introductions. Because when you talk about that trusted data, think about what happens if you're out on a website, and whether you're on a website or a printed catalog, what happens when you give the wrong information or inaccurate information to your contractor? How's that impact, your brand image, but also that of the manufacturer? It's not good. So I think trusted is a key concept of what we're talking about here.
Sure.
Right? And so you got to maintain it and keep it fresh. Now, George, how important? We know that it's important. Would you go so far as to say it's a strategic asset?
Yes, that's exactly what I call it. Thank you, Denise. I think if anybody's struggling with why you need to have good data, I think if you think about it as a strategic asset, it will help you. Because if we all have strategic assets, and you just don't buy something or produce something and then leave it on the shelf and forget about it. You have to keep investing in it. And our strategic asset, our data, is built on the foundation of your data for the manufacturers. And then we add to it and we stratify it, and we help make it easier to find. We add slang terms to that data, and we're constantly improving that data to help our own team to help the customer faster, and then also this really exciting world of web commerce. So no longer in our company, and I'm a little bit sad about this. When I came up through the counter and a customer would come in and ask for some crazy part that no one ever heard of in some slang term, you had that embarrassment of not knowing what he was talking about and then asking and everybody laughing at you, and then you went and found it, but you didn't forget anymore. Well, all those slang terms are in our system now. And so somebody types in a slang term and one of your part will come up and they'll be able to go find it. So no longer will they ever have to suffer that type of embarrassment again. So data is critical to our business.
Thank you. And when you talk about the embarrassment, not understanding the terms, think about our millennials that are coming in, right? We have a lot of trends that are going on in the industry, and the baby boomers are going to be set to retire. By the year 2030, if they all retire at the 65 age, they'll all be out of the workforce. And in place of that will be the millennials and the Gen Xers, right? And I'm going to tell you, they have no patience for not having information at their fingertips, nor do they really feel like they have to learn and retain as much information. They expect to be able to go online, look it up, and have that information instantaneously. And I'm going to tell you, if you don't have the data right on your e-commerce site and they can't find what they need, they are literally just one click away from your competition. Think about that. You have to have, I think, both a powerful e-commerce engine, and you have to combine that with quality content that allows your contractors to come in and search and buy with confidence, so that they'll keep coming back to you again and again. And I think that starts to help shape brand recognition and provides loyalty. Now, I know both George and John. George, you recently upgraded your website.
We did. We've had an e-commerce site for 20 years, and the value proposition on the original site was not very strong. And about 2 years ago, we upgraded to a new web store, and we took one of our hypos, young high potentials, up and coming young man, a brilliant young man, and we put him down with the single objective to make this thing better every day. And then, so the new web store went up, and we keep adding functionality to it. So it's our web presence. It's not just the data surrounding parts. It's our whole web presence, and it's our value proposition and our brand. And so we've invested quite a bit of money in getting the back end right on this new web store, and now we're in the middle of rebranding and reskinning the whole website. It's a brave new world. Our sales have doubled in the last 12 months online. The data that we share back and forth with our customers now, we actually can send a link to a customer that they can hit that link and pull up a page that has a picture and all the data on it through our ERP system. It's a brave new world, and we're having some fun with it.
That's great. And I think, too, we've heard a lot of comments in the industry over the last year or so that have implemented the e-commerce systems, and they still see a very low percentage of orders coming in online. What would you say to a distributor who's just now embarking on that, or who hasn't taken the plunge at all? What advice would you give to them? What would you say to them?
I think we can all agree, at least I'd hope we'd all agree, that our web presence will be more important in the future than it is today. And I actually had this conversation with a distributor who said, my customers aren't really asking for this. And I told them what we've already accomplished. On our website now, you can find a branch location and get directions. On our website now, you can click on something that says, where's my stuff? And you get an estimated time of delivery for everything through stock. We're building out a piece where we're going to restructure the way we do directs. Things will flow from the manufacturer right out. Our estimated delivery will flow through our system right out to the manufacturer. Right now, I've got 5 people that are dedicated to doing that for directs. I'll be able to redeploy them in other areas, right? So I'm saying that's what I can do today. Mm-hmm. And we're working on this every day to make it better. And say in 5 years when your customer is asking, my proposal to him is, how much further will we be ahead of you when you have that aha moment? So I think from a strategic planning and looking out toward the future where things are going, it's always better to get started before your customers. And I think it's coming fast. I've been surprised by the orders that we're getting. Our cash sales are increasing substantially to the point where we really now are developing a marketing plan to go after customers that we couldn't serve profitably in the past. The smaller customers, smaller industrial, smaller commercial buildings, which is opening up a whole brand new market for us to go after through our web presence and our marketing activities.
I think that's interesting. I also think that there's a perception in the industry as it relates to e-commerce that if you go online, that you kind of take away the personalization and take away from the relationship of a customer. And I know this almost seems inappropriate to say it here at this industry, but I'm going to tell you, I order from Amazon, and I feel like I have a relationship with them, and I've never talked to a single person. And I think we have to look at our e-commerce strategies and not look at it as just a tool where we're going to receive orders, but you're talking about all of the other different ways that you're planning on serving your customer. And I think serving that customer in that way is also about building out your relationship. You're just choosing to build out that relationship in new and different ways.
That's very insightful comment, Denise. That's exactly how we're talking about it. We're going to build a relationship through our marketing efforts and our web presence with customers that we may never meet.
Isn't it amazing? And you have to admit, right, it's a global economy. All of the geographic boundaries completely disappear when you're on the internet. It doesn't matter if you really only want to serve, a one-state area or one city. You now have global visibility to who you are and what you are, and I think that's actually very exciting. And when we're all talking about trying to gain market share, I think that's kind of sexy. Sexy.
If you don't mind, I'll just give you a quick story about just what you just mentioned. We got an order for a small part, and from someone in Hawaii, and they wanted us to FedEx the part out to Hawaii. So we called and said, you probably have a local distributor who could serve this. And what the woman said is, I've got a sea container that's leaving in 3 days. Your website was the only place I could find this. If you would just please ship it to me.